Hi, LinkedIn Live, and welcome to Mice Bites by Authentic Meetings and Incentives. I'm Natalie Horan, and I'll be your host as we take our midweek break to learn about a mice-worthy idea that's shaping the way we plan events. Today, we are talking neurodiversity and creating events where everyone belongs. I'm joined by Rachel Bondarenko, EVP of Creative and Strategic Growth at MGME, and Nicole Burke, Clinical Supervisor at Amigo Care and a board-certified behavioral analyst, for a conversation that helps us understand what neurodiversity really is and why it matters in our industry. Plus, they'll give us actionable tips that we can start using right away and answer your questions live. So let's get started.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And we're really going to dive into understanding neurodiversity and neurodivergence a little bit today before we get into the tips and ideas that you can implement to help your neurodiverse audience when you are planning meetings and events. So I'm going to give a little bit of an intro, and then I'm going to introduce my amazing co-host today, Nicole Burke. So neurodiversity is a term used to describe differences in how people's brains work. While no two brains are developed the same, neurodivergent types process information in a way that is not typical of most individuals. So their strengths and weaknesses differ from those of a neurotypical brain. So there's ample research about the advantages of the neurodiverse brain in the workplace. For an example, people with Asperger's gravitate towards thorough and mindful work, exhibiting strong routines, steady focus, and repetitive behavior. People with dyslexia tend to exhibit out-of-the-box thinking. So, understanding that these are the people in your audience, these are your colleagues, these are the people that you need to consider when you are planning your meetings and events, because inclusive meetings and events help ensure that all participants, regardless of background, perspective, strengths, or weaknesses, feel welcomed and valued. And events that prioritize the accommodation and engagement of diverse individuals also benefit from increased attendee productivity, heightened creativity, and enhanced problem solving. So I like to say that not only is planning for your neurodiverse audience the right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do. It is the way to maximize the ROI on your meetings and events. So I'm going to introduce or let Nicole introduce herself to you. She is a behavioral analyst who is going to help take us through some of the finer points of neurodiversity. Hi, Nicole.
Hey, hello everyone. So I'm Nicole, and I'm so grateful to talk to you about this topic today because it is very close to me in a way that, surprise, I am neurodivergent myself. I was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in second grade. When I was diagnosed, my doctor prescribed a medication and sent me and my family on our way. No therapy, no resources, no coping strategies, just medication. And I didn't know what ADHD was. Neither did my family. All we knew was that I had it. The school got my diagnosis, and there I was, a second grader with ADHD, no coping skills for my disorder. What a teacher's nightmare. My experience growing up was a series of others pointing out my deficits and ignoring my strengths I didn't even really know I had. I heard things like, you're always late, you're such a procrastinator, and that I couldn't focus to save my life. I was getting put down by my peers. I was called selfish, lazy, defiant, told I was not listening, but I didn't know how to fix it. And no one was helping me or giving me the proper accommodations. I grew up thinking that something was wrong with me until I studied special education at George Mason University. And it was there that I realized my strengths and harnessed them as best I could. I finally understood myself, and I could help others understand me too. Today, I'm here to give you a taste of what neurodiversity means and how these individuals may experience the world around them. So neurodiversity, scientifically put, encompasses the vast spectrum of neurocognitive variations within the human population. It points to the fact that every human has a unique nervous system with a unique combination of abilities and needs. It's a mainstream term that recognizes individuals whose brains process information differently than the majority. This diverse population is also known as the neurominority or the neurodivergent. But why is this so important to recognize? So, recognizing your neurodiversity is crucial for creating those inclusive environments where everyone can thrive. Lack of awareness and appropriate infrastructure can hinder the neurominority from reaching their full potential. Unemployment rates among the neurodiverse population are 30 to 40% in the US, leading to a significant exclusion of valuable talent in the workforce. Understanding neurodiversity enables us to harness these unique skills, talents, and perspectives, leading to personal growth, enhanced education, reduced stigma, and reduced discrimination. Teams with neurodiverse individuals can have up to 30% higher productivity levels than those without. The neurodiverse population has so much value. And around 15 to 20% of the world's population exhibits some form of neurodivergence. That's right, you heard me, 15 to 20%. Next slide, please.
I got bumped out, but I'm coming back.
Okay. Rachel, do you have ability to move to the next slide?
Can you see the slides?
I cannot.
Nope. Oh, there we go. All right, we're back up.
Awesome. And to the next one, pretty please. There we go. So 15 to 20% of the world's population exhibits some form of neurodivergence, including conditions like autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, dyslexia, and other various mental health conditions. This diversity enriches our society and workplaces with unique abilities and insights. On the upcoming slides, we'll dig a little bit deeper into some of these specific disorders, their strengths, and their weaknesses. So autism spectrum disorder affects approximately 1% of the global population, and this is the population that I work with the most. While it presents challenges in communication and social interaction, individuals with autism spectrum disorder often possess remarkable strengths, such as a powerful memory, rational decision-making, and pattern recognition. However, they may struggle with a phenomena called sensory overload. Sensory overload for someone with autism spectrum disorder can be an overwhelming experience where their senses can become flooded with stimuli to the point where it becomes difficult to process or filter them effectively. Imagine being in a room where all the lights are too bright, every sound is amplified, every texture feels too rough or too smooth, and every smell is overpowering. These individuals may also struggle with emotional expression, being able to express their emotions effectively to others, and a low theory of mind, the challenge to understand that others have beliefs, desires, and intentions that are different from their own. So now that we've explored some of the unique challenges faced by individuals with ASD, let's shift our focus to another common neurodivergence, social anxiety disorder. So social anxiety disorder affects around 7.1% of adults in the US, and it's characterized by a persistent fear of social situations, leading to intense anxiety and avoidance behaviors. Social anxiety is not only the fear of social situations, but it's also the fear of appearing anxious in those social situations or being judged by others. But it doesn't stop there. These fears can create physical symptoms like sweating, upset stomach, and even trouble breathing. Understanding and accommodating individuals with social anxiety involves creating supportive environments that alleviate those fears of judgment and scrutiny. Moving from social anxiety, let's delve into the world of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, where attention and hyperactivity present their own set of challenges and strengths. So ADHD affects 5 to 7% of youth and 2.5 to 6.7% of adults globally, me being one of them. ADHD involves challenges with attention and hyperactivity. Go figure. Despite these difficulties, individuals with ADHD often exhibit strengths like hyperfocus, which I like to refer to as putting the blinders on. It's in a state of intense concentration or absorption of a specific task, and because of that intense immersement, we can often exclude everything else around us, including time, other responsibilities, even people. But on the other hand, individuals with ADHD also have lots of trouble directing that focus. I like to refer to this as there's a little monkey in my brain that's telling me what I can focus on at which time, and the monkey rules all. I have no control. But I also like to call it like a golden retriever energy in a way. It's super easy to train, but as soon as a squirrel runs by, everything's all out the window. We can also be disorganized, and for some, me, always moving around. As we've discussed some of these traits and experiences associated with ADHD, let me share a personal anecdote that sheds light on navigating conferences and events as a neurodivergent individual. So recently I attended the ABAI conference, which is a conference in my field, the largest international conference. And it was amazing, and I was able to learn so much once I got adjusted. So here on the right side of the screen, you can see I have an actual screenshot of my notes from this conference. So there was a period of time when everyone just started using PowerPoint, and they started to teach you that what your slide says should be different than what you're saying in your presentation. That was the day that my hope of fully gathering information from PowerPoint presentations started to drift away. At this conference, I was struggling to keep up between writing down notes on the slides, to writing down what the presenter was saying, to somebody opening a door in the back, to somebody clicking their pen. It was a learning nightmare for me. So what did I do? Panic. Of course, I would get upset. I couldn't gather information like my peers. Why am I the only one struggling? Oh my gosh, I'm missing information. They moved on to the next slide. Oh, luckily, I came up with a solution for myself quickly. And as you can see here in the picture, I decided to take photos of the slides as they came up and then write down what the presenter was saying. Now, thankfully, after I came up with the solution, my conference experience went smoothly, but probably not for all the people sitting behind me as I held up my iPad to take a picture of the presentation. Now, what could have helped me so much in this? Printed slides. Printing slides before the presentation or having access to them later would have saved me and all of the people behind me. It would have made a huge difference, and I wouldn't have distracted others around me, and it would have just been an easier conference experience for me overall. So in conclusion, recognizing and embracing neurodiversity is pivotal in creating an environment where every individual's needs feels valued and empowered to contribute their unique talents and perspectives. By fostering a culture of inclusion, we not only unlock the full potential of our workforce, but also promote innovation, creativity, and understanding. Through understanding and accommodating these traits, we pave the way for more compassionate and equitable societies where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. So now I think we're going to move on to a little bit of a discussion part of our presentation.
Yeah.
Rachel?
So, yeah, thank you, Nicole. I hope that, Nicole, everyone has a better understanding of neurodiversity and what your neurodiverse colleagues might be experiencing. And for all the planners out there, really thinking about what your neurodiverse audience might need. Because, that sense of inclusion, that sense of belonging, that's something everyone should be striving for when they're planning their meetings and events. And like I said, because of that, this is the right thing to do. But aside from being the right thing to do, it is the smart business decision. Like Nicole said, when you potentially have 15 to 20% of your audience neurodiverse, and in some industries, it's higher. I think I saw a statistic somewhere that said 50% of all physicians are neurodiverse. So my guess is it's possible that that percentage is even higher in particular industries. So if you're going to take the time, spend the money to bring people together, you want to make sure that everyone is engaged. And a couple of things that you want to start thinking about, how might people with neurodiversity feel at one of your company events? What are your events like? What's going to work for them? What might you be doing that's not going to work for them? And how could you adjust your events to accommodate this person? When we talk about social anxiety, or we talk about audio issues, is your welcome reception, is there music playing? Is it in a room that's got a very high ceiling and it's very loud? Is it possible that that environment is going to make some people not want to attend, right? Because they just cannot be in that type of environment. Is it possible to offer two areas in your welcome reception? Maybe one that, where all the extroverts are out there and there's lots of noise and lots of activity and people are happy, but maybe there is another room that is quieter, where people that might have more social anxiety or might have auditory issues are going to feel more comfortable. Again, these are small things. Ask yourself these questions. The solutions are usually pretty obvious when you think through this. What information could you gather before an event to ensure that you can accommodate this person? As I understand it, Nicole, having written information out there ahead of time, letting people know that they will be able to access all of the materials ahead of time would be important. Asking questions, when you send out your save the date and people are RSVPing, are there questions that you can ask where you might be able to identify some accommodations or some things that you can do in your meeting that is going to help your attendees feel more comfortable and more engaged? And again, yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
Absolutely, Rachel. I mean, all of these things, a lot of the times when we talk about these things, it's something that will help the neurodiverse population, but also help everybody. We all want to know what to expect at an event. We all like to feel good when we know that somebody is keeping us in mind, right? When they're going through these processes and planning these events, all of these things, they don't only help neurodiverse communities, they help everybody. Really.
Right. Absolutely. And there is space when you are getting those RSVPs to ask questions. Ask them. Some more tips for planning the inclusive meetings and events. This one we just talked about. Solicit accommodation needs. It's a simple question. We ask about dietary restrictions right now. There could be something else somebody needs. Would you like to receive the presentation ahead of time? Would you like to receive a map ahead of time? Are you going to need, sometimes the electronic versions don't work as well as maybe a printed version. These are questions you can ask. Clearly articulate every event expectation. I mean, I have a little bit of this with me. I want to know what to expect. And I want to make sure that when I am engaged in planning, that expectations are clearly communicated. I don't think you can kind of overemphasize articulating expectations pre-event. Again, we talked about this, considering the needs of sensory seeking or avoidant attendees. Is there a place to go outside of the main meeting space where people can just be peaceful and quiet? Sometimes, I mean, I know I do. I need 20 minutes of downtime, and then I'm able to go back into more of an extroverted, loud situation, but I need that downtime. I need that place to catch my breath, other than going into the ladies' room and standing up on, hiding in the stall, which, trust me, I think I've done that as well. And I bet there's a lot of other people out there who've done that as well at a busy conference.
Absolutely. Just to get away for a minute, just to be able to, take the smile off your face for a second, let your face muscles relax.
Exactly. So thoughtful decompression or escape spaces, maybe other than the stall in the ladies' room or men's room. Informing attendees of high impact moments. If there's going to be flashing lights, let people know with a sign before they walk in that room. Some may decide that that's not for them. Flexible food and beverage options. Again, something you can ask in your RSVP. Navigational support. We talked about this. Maybe, maps are critical. Paper maps, digital maps. Use your event app to make sure that all of that is in there. Some people like to know where they're going before the day of the event, that they'll plan it out. That is important too.
I have a close friend of mine who actually, we do a lot of job fairs, and every time beforehand, she has OCD and anxiety, and she is texting me a million times beforehand. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Where do we park? Once we get in the building, what room do we need to be in? This. She, just the arrows are not enough for her to feel comfortable.
Absolutely. So maybe there's hybrid streaming of meeting sessions. Maybe that's something that you can offer so people can, revisit the material or take in the material on their own time in a different environment. Presentation material in multiple formats. That's where you get into, some people might want hard copies. Some people might be okay with digital. Ask the questions. And the last one I think is important. And this is one of the reasons that Nicole and I talk about this topic. The more as I say, the more you know, the more you know. Train your staff on non-apparent disabilities. There are so many non-apparent disabilities out there. And our hope is that just by having this conversation and hopefully you listening to it and taking it in, we're going to make a difference in somebody else's experience, right? So, this is a subject that we should be talking about. And obviously, both of us are always here to help with that. If you need more information, you can always reach out. If you're interested in having your staff trained on, what to look for and how to plan neurodiverse friendly meetings and events, we are always here, happy to help. And we are so grateful for Natalie and Mice Bites that she had us on today. Like I said, this is something that is near and dear to our hearts. And the idea that we...
I think we lost Rachel.
I think so too.
Okay, she'll come back, I think, because that happened earlier.
Sure.
But yeah, thank you. Did you guys have more of the presentation, or is it okay to ask you guys some questions?
Please, I think questions are I think we're ready for them.
Okay, hopefully Rachel comes back in a moment. But in the meantime, first of all, thank you. It seems like, none of this seems like it matters until you have somebody in your life who has to deal with this. But I think people would be really surprised to find that they have more. Oh, here she is. Come on, Rachel. Okay, let's see, I added her to the stage. Oh, and we lost her again.
There I am.
Yay.
I am struggling today.
No, we're good. I was just telling Nicole that, none of this seems very important until you have somebody in your life who is dealing with this. But I really think people have people in their lives who are dealing with it and they just don't realize.
Oh, absolutely.
The more I start talking about this to people, the more I find that people are quietly dealing with this, or they have family members, or, whatever it may be. And like you said earlier, I think we could all benefit from this. I think we've all walked to the bathroom slowly and then take a second and then go back. But, why can't we have two spaces and not both with DJs in them, like one quiet and one, loud? I think it's fantastic. I also think it's really important to note that, like what you said, that neurodiverse community offers so much value. That part is very important too, because, we make these accommodations, but they are a super strength in our community. And that's why it's worth making these accommodations. It's not all inconvenient. So
and I say that all the time. It's the right thing to do, but it is the smart business decision to do, because you are losing that creativity. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's a superpower. I mean, I know, Nicole, you call it your superpower, and it is a superpower. And, we do talk a lot, or we have in the past talk about neurodiversity and ADHD when we talk about children, right? And obviously that's an important conversation, but those children grow up.
Yes.
They grow up and they are in the workforce, and their amazing superpowers need to be harnessed. And so, just these and everything we talked about, there's not a lot of money to be spent in these changes in meetings and events. There are oftentimes some quote unquote trends or things that we do in meetings and events that require a large monetary investment. These not only don't require that kind of investment, they increase your ROI because you are engaging those innovative, creative, fast-thinking brains in your meeting. So
and people who don't even realize maybe that they need these tools, and they're just going through life struggling, and then you offer that they can print it out in advance or whatever it may be. Like, I know, like you said, we talk a lot about children, and my son would love to know everything that's happening before it happens, and he'll want to look at the map and everything. But one day he's going to be an adult, and he's still going to want to know what's happening before it happens. So I don't know why we stop, and it makes perfect sense.
A lot of the time too, it's one of those things where I'm not going to ask for it, but if it's presented to me, I will take it, because there's this stigma, which, in the society that we have today, that stigma starting to fade away. But there's this stigma of something's wrong with you, right? I do now, but before I didn't want people to know I have ADHD. That was like my own little secret. So all of those accommodations, then you're also me as like asking for these accommodations. Now I'm a burden. Now I'm asking people to do all of these extra things. And I don't want to ask people to do these extra things, but if they're already there, oh yeah, I'm taking them. Absolutely.
Yeah. And people who probably don't even realize they need it, and to advocate for themselves. So it doesn't hurt to offer.
Yeah.
Right.
We do have a question from Andrea Kinney. She said, "Thank you so much for this important insight. What would be the ideal session format for you, Nicole? Panel discussion, hands-on workshop?"
Wow. Okay. So honestly, I love panel discussions. And the reason why I love panel discussions is because to me, they're more engaging, and it's less presentation over here, saying different things over here. Because for me, it's very difficult to focus on those two things. Imagine trying to read a book while hearing a song in the background. It's impossible. I don't even know how anybody does it. So I think my ideal session would be a panel discussion. Also because it would provide me opportunities to ask those clarifying questions and even show my creativity a little bit in there too, in those questions that I ask, to help further my understanding. But yeah, I'd say panel discussion. I love those.
That's a good question. I was actually thinking that when you were talking. I'm glad she asked. That's great. Let me see. Yeah, no, I mean, you guys have so many good like points. So, this will be for anybody listening, we'll be following up with, a breakdown of all of this that you guys can read and access because again, maybe that's better for some people.
Right.
And you guys can reach out to Rachel and Nicole and Rachel's with the team at MGME and they're such a resource for all things event planning, even something like this. So it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalie.
All right, have a great day and thank you everybody for watching.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.